Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss Five Nights at Freddy's, starring Josh Hutcherson, Elizabeth Lail, Piper Rubio, Mary Stuart Masterson, and Matthew Lillard, directed by Emma Tammy. Now, before I get into this review, I know this is based on a horror game that I've seen Game Grumps play, and it seems like it could be fun, but I'll never play it myself. And the other thing I want to bring up is the fact that this is a PG-13 rated horror movie, which is the thing I'm not too big on. But let's see if this is better than, like, say, A Quiet Place, for example, because that's the only one that got me scared. So let's get into the movie. We open the movie with a security guard trying to run away from Freddy Fazbear, who is an animatronic, and he, along with other animatronics like Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, and Cupcake, kill the security guard at Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria, which has been deserted for years, maybe around the year of 1987, if memory serves me right, because of kidnapped children, which I'll get to later in the show. And this opener didn't really grab me as much as I wanted it to. And we get the opening credits where we get images of an arcade game that's kind of like the game of the pizzeria at Freddy Fazbear's is dangerous, and hopefully they never catch you. And I like how that as a concept of the game, as I go through this movie, they execute it kind of poorly, but I kind of liked it. I'll just say that much, even though it was executed poorly. Mike, played by Josh Hutcherson from the Hunger Games series, is a security guard at a mall and gets fired from it because he beat up a guy whom he was led to believe kidnapped a little kid at the mall, when it turns out it was his father. And Mike is a terrible protagonist, in my opinion. He job hunts for a security gig where he meets Steve Raglan, played by Matthew Lillard, and because of Scream, remember that film? I know he's going to be the bad guy, as it was telegraphed. But he offers Mike a security gig at nighttime at Freddy Fazbear's, and he says no, and he still continues to find a job while he has to hire a babysitter named Max, whom never gets paid because Mike doesn't have the money to, while she babysits for Mike's sister Abby, played by Piper Rubio. And honestly, I thought it was his daughter, but no, but he's a little too young to be a father figure, I'll say. But it turns out that it was his sister. And she's a bad character as well, as I don't care for any of the characters, and that they have a terrible characterizations. Mike dreams nonstop about his brother Garrett getting kidnapped by a stranger, who Mike never gets to see his face and tries to get more details every single time he dreams about it. Another terrible character named Aunt Jane, played by Mary Stuart Masterson, accuses Mike of being a bad brother while she acts crazy, and she says, "Don't act like I'm crazy." And I'm thinking, you're crazier than your mother. And she threatens to take Mike to court as he decides to call Steve and takes the job as a nighttime security guard at Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria, as it was popular in the 1980s, mainly 1987. And the owner doesn't want to let the place go. And who's the owner? William Apton, who I'll talk about at the end of the movie when I get there. And Mike's first night on the job goes like this. He watches a training video as well as the cameras and sees a creepy looking toy named Golden Freddy as he walks around and sees the animatronics, and he listens to music and falls asleep and dreams again of who kidnapped Garrett. And he sees 5 kids staring at Mike, and they run away as he wakes up the next day. And I'm thinking, how could you keep a job while falling asleep to begin with? Which is questionable in my opinion, as the movie does some questionable things throughout. Like, is this movie for real? I mean, Jesus, this movie is ridiculous at times. Max and her brother meet with Aunt Jane and her lawyer Doug, who seems to be afraid of Jane throughout this whole movie, while she annoyed the hell out of me throughout her screen time. And Max's brother thinks about breaking into Freddy Fazbear's in order for him to lose his job, and Abby wants to go with him on the second day of his security job, and he says no. And the way the movie is shot and acted was just terrible. Mike works on the second day, and once again he dreams and tries to get help from the kids and gets cut with one one with a hook on his hand, and as he wakes up and music goes on and he meets Vanessa, played by Elizabeth Lale, coming to the door, and she comes inside and bandages up his hand, which is where he got cut from. And something about Vanessa is really freaking me out. Like, no offense to Elizabeth Lale, but she's kind of a creepy looking person in this movie. And I've never seen her in anything before, and she talks about the missing kids from the year 1987, when this place is in business, and this plot is weird to me. Despite I've never played the game once, and probably never will either, Max, her brother, and a couple of guys break into Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria the next day and break some things to believe Mike did it and steal some stuff until one of the guys bump into Cupcake. When he opens the refrigerator and gets to the hands of Chica, and Cupcake kills one of the guys, and the other guy hears screaming and goes into a closet and gets killed by Bonnie, and the brother hides somewhere as Cupcake goes inside the vent to go after the brother, as he almost escapes until Cupcake jumps and kills the brother, and Max goes inside and sees a little kid and gets chomped in half by Freddy. And that is a violent death, but come on, how can she fit in there is my question. As that bothered me from the get-go, and a lot of this material has so far bothered me. Abby draws while Mike wants to show her his badge, and she doesn't want to see it at first, but she'll get it from a drawer. And as it turns out, she does like it, and she sees a piece of paper about giving Abby up that Aunt Jane thinks about making him doing, as he doesn't want to, while she says Aunt Jane smells like cigarettes, and he laughs because he agrees with that. And Abby doesn't like Aunt Jane either, which was a tad cute, I'll give it that, but it was poorly acted like this whole movie is. Vanessa goes to Mike's door, and they talk about Mike's sleeping pills and how he sleeps on the job, and explains how he dreams and gets closer to revealing his brother's kidnapper every single night. And she suggests not to sleep on the job, and this is not the greatest acting, nor is it a good version of the game from what I've seen from Game Grumps playing it. Mike can't get a hold of Max and decides to take Abby to Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. While he works, he cleans up the mess inside the building that the robbers ended up doing to begin with, while she does go to sleep until they're both asleep, as Mike goes up to one of the kids and talks with him and getting help and asks what does he want, and she gets up to go to the bathroom, and she gets introduced to the animatronics, and they play with her as she screams. Mike wakes up and sees the animatronics come alive, and I can't believe they revealed themselves to the security guard, and they should have given it about 5-10 more minutes of the movie to reveal that, as that was the scariest part of the movie in my opinion. Mike and Abby get home for the day, and he puts her to bed, and Mike thinks about what the hell happened the night before, and he tries to talk about what happened the night before with Abby, and he brings up Garrett, aka his long-lost brother, which was a weird, quiet moment of the film. Mike brings Abby to the pizzeria one more night and sees Vanessa's there, and Vanessa knew they were alive all this time and never told Mike that scary story, as they have fun with the animatronics, and it was hilarious when Bonnie falls down and asks if it's alright, and gives Abby a thumbs up, and I found that third night to be fun, but then the first two nights, until Abby had some kind of an accident, and Vanessa tells Mike next time he brings Abby to the pizzeria, she would shoot him, as that was a bit harsh, but at the same time, I'm kind of entertained by the second half of the movie. Mike calls Aunt Jane to bring her to the house, and wants to tell Abby something, as we never know what it is, as she tells Mike she hates him for bringing Aunt Jane, as she's trying to take her away, and Abby blacks out Mike's face, and Aunt Jane babysits her for the night. As Mike picks up his sleeping pills, he dreams of Garrett and the 5 kids deciding they want Abby in their group, and tells Mike he never was fit to be her parental guardian, and Mike doesn't want that. They ask for, as he remembers that dream, much differently. And the whole thing that they take Abby's story was in uh, that was told in the trailer, as that did kind of annoy me when the storyline begins. Mike wakes up and almost gets killed until he gets out of the trap and tries to escape while Freddy goes to the house and to get Abby as he kills Aunt Jane. And honestly, she got what she deserved as she's crazy in this movie. And Abby, along with Freddy, take a taxi cab to the pizzeria and scared the cab driver, which was also in the trailer, so I expected that coming as it was predictable. Vanessa tells Mike the stories of the pizzeria as they want to make Abby like them as animatronics, and the owner, who happens to be Vanessa's father, William Afton, whom I swear to God I thought he was dead, but nope, he's alive as he's disguised as Steve, aka the Matthew Lillard character. Spoiler alert. And that reveal was predictable thanks to another horror movie where he plays the bad guy in Scream. Vanessa knew all this time, and why did she not say anything about the animatronics wanting Abby as one of them? And Mike has to stop them with electricity, and as he has to be unseen and pour some water to fry Freddy and Bonnie in order to knock them down, and Chica almost puts Abby in the dead zone, and Mike electrocutes Chica with a taser, and they run until Cupcake attacks Mike and Foxy, appearing, and Mike electrocutes Cupcake while Foxy looks for Abby and is getting close to her as she hides in the ball pit. And Foxy almost gets her until Vanessa comes to the rescue, and William attacks Mike and wakes the animatronics up to kill Mike until Vanessa steps up to her father and points the gun at him and shoots him, but it doesn't kill him, and he stabs Vanessa and Abby. But the real killer is William, and the animatronics go against William as they now see him for who he is. And Cupcake attacks him and takes a stab at William, and he says, I will come back alive. And it will set up for a sequel, and it will make its money back because of how the box office is doing. Mike, Abby, and Vanessa get out of the pizzeria, and Abby is doing well with the other kids, and she with Mike have a good brother-sister relationship with each other and hopes for Vanessa's recovery, and a kid closes the door on William and sets up for a sequel as credits roll to the theme song from the game. And I really do like that song and mid-credits scene of Golden Freddy scaring the hell out of the taxi cab driver. And after the credits, we hear Freddy spelling something like "come see me" or something. I couldn't get a good listen to it. And this climax was predictable but fun, but at the end of the day, I kind of don't like this movie for reasons I'll get into with the rating. I'll give this movie a 4.8 out of 10. This movie has terrible characters, as their characterizations was really bad, and the shots were poorly done, and the acting was poorly done. I do like the concept of as a Chuck E. Cheese ripoff, as I've never played the game and maybe never will either, as I was getting mildly entertained by the second half, but some of the material kind of bothered me at times. The first hour of the movie is the worst part, as we get to the scary part by the 1 hour mark, and the movie gets more fun after that, after the 1 hour mark, and as it does have flaws, and at the end of the day, I kind of don't like the movie, but I do like the song and the credits, but unfortunately, I have to give this the mildest of non-recommendations, because I just didn't like the movie enough to recommend it, as it pains me to say this before Halloween, but it's not going to be the Halloween movie. It'll be coming up in a couple shows. And until then, Five Nights at Freddy's.